Welcome to the Industrial Talk Podcast with Scott McKenzie. Scott is a passionate industry professional dedicated to transferring cutting-edge, industry-focused innovations and trends while highlighting the men and women who keep the world moving. So put on your hard hat, grab your work boots, and let's go.
All right, once again, we're broadcasting from the 30th Annual SMRP Conference, and I got to tell you, this is a home run. If you're in asset management, if you're in predictive maintenance, whatever you are in, this is definitely the show for you. The technology, the professionals, the problem solvers are all here, and they are willing to collaborate to talk to you about how to solve some of the problems. All right, in the house. Paul Casto, we're going to be talking about SMRP. He is with GE Digital, if I remember correctly.
That's correct.
Well, there it is. Let's get cracking with the conversation. Yeah, I've just wandered up and down this year and seeing the vendors, the solutions. What I'm always dazzled with, Paul, is the fact that, one, is to be able to see how things have evolved. You know, maybe 2 years ago it was one thing, and then fast forward, and now we're doing this and that, and we're able to add value here, and we're solving this problem there, and we're making it easier, and yeah, we're dealing with some, the resource issues, so that's why this is so important. It never ends. I mean, you guys are really the doctors in when we talk about maintenance and asset reliability.
Well, things are changing fast. And the one thing we do know is it'll never change any slower than it is today. It just keeps increasing. And technology is increasing. How we apply different technologies, especially with Industry 4.0, the melting of all the data that's out there, asset performance management. It's an exciting field to be working in these days.
I feel like I'm an old curmudgeon because if I was younger, I'd be all in this. Yeah. I mean, it's exciting.
Yeah, I've seen over my career from break fix to preventive maintenance was a big thing, time-based. And then we started doing vibration, and it was like eye-opening. And, look where we are today. The more sophisticated the technology becomes, the more valuable it is. The flip side of that is the more technically difficult and the more difficult it is to actually implement successfully. So, there's that balance in between there. But there is no question that technology is, marching on.
Do you find with that technology, I think that there's, because some of the technology that we see here on the floor, I find that you bring up a good point that it's truly a sophisticated solution, but there is this drive to also make it approachable, where it's not going to make my ear bleed. I see it, and then I can do it. There's this drive to sort of make it approachable.
Yeah, well, the thing we need to remember is there is no magic wand.
Yeah.
Right. And not only is it a technology and the solutions that it can help us with, it's also people. And the technology has to be understandable and it has to be usable. The big winners are the people who can solve problems, integrate data, solve problems, and present that data and those answers in a way that the average citizen like you or I can use that data. So it's twofold. Those processes. You think about software. What software really does is helps us efficiently implement work processes out there. So there's two parts to this. There's technology, and then there's the people part that comes along with it.
So with that people part, because many of these companies out here, and especially manufacturing or industry, it doesn't really matter. It's undeniable the benefits a reliability program brings to the bottom line. It's undeniable that asset runs, whatever it might be. The challenge is always it seems like it is, are finding those trained individuals, the ones, because if you walk out on this floor and you talk to a lot of these vendors, and even the participants, there's a passion there. It's interesting. There's this collegial passion, and how do you find individuals? How do you do that? How do you get those? How do you instill that passion?
Well, it's a challenging area to work in, and it's also exciting. This is not like a normal engineering. Reliability is probabilistic in nature. There's no definite answer because of all the variation that gets introduced to the equipment that's out in the field. And there's some basic skills that you need to be able to manage that information. SMRP is working in those areas to try to make training available, leadership skills available, and to be able to bring people in to be able to execute and reap the benefits of all of this data aggregation and technology together.
One of the areas that everybody, and very fortunate for me, I interview a lot of people, is Scott, I hear you. I understand exactly what you mean, but where do I start and who do I trust? Because there's a lot of shingles that are being hung out there, and like, hey, we're data aggregators. We've got a great platform. We're in the cloud. We're SaaS. That to me is a very big challenge, because I want companies to say, yeah, I need to get engaged, but I need to know where and who.
Well, there's two parts to that answer.
Yeah.
First, if you're just starting out, you should start out with the basics. A good root cause analysis program. At the heart of any reliability program is failure elimination and root cause analysis, and a lot of that work is not technology driven. It's basic, get your left foot in front of your right foot, and that's a good place to start. Now, when you start thinking about technologies and who to trust, you need to educate yourself. You need to go out and spend some time understanding what's available in the marketplace, the history of the vendors that are in the marketplace, because you're right. Everybody and their brother are hanging a shingle out and saying, I'm in the asset performance management business, I'm in the reliability business. But as our speaker at SMRP said today, we really need to watch their feet and make sure that they can do what they say they can do.
How do you do that? How is an organization like SMRP to a certain extent help with that? It's like if I came to you and I have my certification next to my name, there's a certain trust that comes with that.
Well, there's sort of two kinds of trust, right? And you're right. The first is credential trust. So at SMRP, we offer a number of certifications. You're a certified maintenance reliability professional, you're certified reliability technician, you're certified asset manager. We're hooked up with the IAM in the UK around some asset management certifications there. We partnered with PMAC for some more asset management certifications that they offer and lots of training that they offer. So we've tried to bring that kind of credibility to bear and help people get that kind of credibility. The flip side of that is there's also experience credibility and, can you walk the talk credibility? Can you do what you talk about kind of things?
So with that said, how does somebody, let's say I'm a young professional, I see the value of being engaged with SMRP. I see the need to collaborate with seasoned professionals, all of that stuff. Is it a recommendation to say, okay, you want to go down this road, you want to be a part of this community, to be involved in a company and then work your way in that, or just how does a young professional go about doing that? Well,
there's multiple approaches. One is you can be with a company working in maintenance and reliability, and then there are lots of educational opportunities. We just discussed some of those. There's also university opportunities. Certainly the University of Tennessee offers a master's in reliability, as does the University of Maryland, and there are others. So you can get some academic training as well as field training, but there's nothing that can replace good hands-on out in the field, solving problems and things like that. So, wow, it's really good to get certifications and skills and training like that. You've got to be able to go to the field and apply that, and nothing's going to replace that.
So, with that said, so it makes sense. How do we? There is a need. Do you find companies recognizing the necessity to truly be focused on asset management, reliability, and doing it right, and using the tools that are available and the new innovations that exist out there, is there a greater acceptance, or is there still companies that are like that, we do it this way, that type of stuff?
The answer is yes and yes.
Well done.
There are companies that are very reliability driven. Reliability is at the center of their safety program. A more reliable plant is a safer plant. A safer plant's a more reliable plant. They realize that. They realize the impact that reliability can have on their bottom line, whether it's maintenance cost or increased production. Those numbers show up over on the income statement. So reliability is as I sometimes say, a gold mine. Maybe I should be saying it's an oil well these days, right?
Hey.
Yeah. But it can be a really profitable. But there are other companies that are still learning. There are companies, and a lot of it's based on the leadership, the background of those leaderships, folks, what they know, where they came from. I had a conversation with a friend just a couple of weeks ago, and we were commiserating how sometimes we're talking about the same things we were talking about 20 years ago.
There is a problem with that, yeah. Yeah, but do you find, with that reality, and everybody's still talking about it, do you find that there's a greater acceptance? I mean, I think there is. I think that over a period of time, just by looking at the people participating at SMRP and that type.
I think what's really changed in just the last 2, 3, 4 years, what's really changed, technology's changed.
Yes.
And the leaders, they may not understand the basics of reliability, but now they're getting the idea that there's some technology out there, and if we could figure out how to harness and implement this technology, it could improve our lives. It could improve our bottom line. I think that has really driven, at the management level of a lot of organizations, sort of a renewed look at this area of reliability.
I look at events, historical events that have, and I think that because we had that pandemic, wherever we're at on that, there was a shift, and a shift that brought attention. And I always talk about, I think people began to realize the necessity to collaborate. I got problems, I can't do it myself, and yet I got the negative stuff. Yeah, I got it. But the positive stuff is that I think that it brought about a greater focus in, okay, we got to keep this asset up and running. We got to figure out how to manage it more effectively. And now with resource challenges, it just, there's more focus on it. Do you agree with that?
I do, and I think, interestingly enough, I think the pandemic and how we had to work remotely, I think it's driven collaboration to a new level. We collaborate in ways now that we didn't do before the pandemic, and I think it's a strange consequence of what we had to do. We had to learn to work remotely, and we had to learn to work remotely fast. We had to do things remotely that we never considered doing remotely. A great example is training has been changed forever. The delivery methods around training. Before COVID, there was a lot of face-to-face training, classroom training. That's all changed. I mean, there still is that training.
Oh, yeah.
But the vast majority of training can be done virtually or online. That's just one example of the many things that changed as a result of the unexpected consequences from the pandemic.
Do you have an opinion? Is it positive, negative about that? Because I think it's forever changed. I think it's going to continue to improve, better delivery of education, whatever it is. And
I think that's really positive. I think this is going to make education available to a lot of people that it might not have been available. It's going to make us more efficient, more cost effective. I think it's just a wonderful ramification of a terrible thing.
And in light of the fact that innovation and technology is just spinning so fast, it's a rapid environment out there. I think that the only way is through means of education that can keep up with that speed.
I agree, and I think it's important to remember, when I got out of school, they told me that the half-life of an engineer was about 5 years. In about 5 years, the skill set you had was only worth about half as much as it was 5 years ago.
No way. I didn't
Now
know
that was years ago.
Yeah.
Just think how fast things are changing today.
I don't.
It's a challenge, and people who really want to stay at the top of their game have to be continuously engaged on improving their skill set, staying up to speed, and it's a challenging thing to do.
And I look at it like a doctor, right? I'm not going to a doctor that doesn't keep up with the new things that are taking place. You want a doctor that's, says, I'm committed to learning the very latest and greatest and keeping me healthy.
Yep, you're exactly right. And but I just would say this: it's not all the technology. The other innovations are how are we going to implement that technology? How are we going to integrate this in with the culture of the facility? How are we going to build a culture of reliability and then be able to go manage the change? Because when we implement this new technology, we're changing the power structure out there, and we're changing who has information. We're changing the way everybody does their work. And, the tendency is always to go back to the good old days. It doesn't matter if the good old days were really that good. We always want to go back to the way we used to do it. So, there are challenges with implementing this technology, driving adoption of the technology, and then being able to govern it.
So with that said, and I agree with you 100%, there's a tsunami of change. Some will do well at it. Some will be nimble enough. Some won't be as nimble enough and not embracing it. So is it, I don't know. I mean, what are some of the pushbacks? Let's just say, if you have an organization like SMRP, it's here, and it's rich with passionate professionals, truly desire to help and solve problems. But there are still companies out there that are sort of pushing back on it.
There are companies that are pushing back on that, and I'll answer the question this way. There's another problem as well. There are companies that aren't pushing back on it that have trouble. Lots of times we think about this technology is going to solve our problems. We have to be forward thinking. So you got two groups. One group that's pushing back, another group that's trying to move forward, but they aren't thinking about, well, what am I going to do after I implement this technology? What problems am I going to solve? We're engineers. Lots of us are engineers. And you know what happens? We see this new technology and we become enamored with it. This is great stuff. Let's go find some problems to solve. That's reverse of what we need to be doing in the reliability and maintenance space. We need to be aligning what we do with the business outcomes of our companies. What are our companies trying to achieve? And once we understand that, what are the barriers? What are the problems that need to be solved to be able to achieve those outcomes? Then, with all this great technology, what technologies and what processes can we bring forward to solve those problems?
Does an organization like SMRP provide advocacy?
Well, SMRP,
because I don't know where to go. I know my problem.
SMRP tries to do a couple of things. As you can see here today, we try to bring everybody together. We try to promote collaboration between different technologies, different vendors. We try to make a forum where people can come to learn about these things and talk to knowledgeable people about their problems that need to be solved. So SMR really tries to drive that as well. So and we try to provide an atmosphere for maybe mentorship of some folks. We just had an announcement today about the new life member status because we have a lot of folks who work and they sort of come to the end of their working career, with a company, and they have a lot of knowledge and a lot of skills. And so we've come up with this new life member. We want those people to remain engaged with SMRP so they can teach us, so they can mentor the young folks, and that we can leverage their knowledge.
That's important. That's subtly brilliant, because I agree. I think it's a shame with some of these seasoned professionals out there that have seen it all. They've gone through a lot, and to let that sort of go to retirement and not being engaged, I think it's a disservice, because a lot of people can. I like that. That's a good thing.
Yeah, we're excited about that. We're excited about that, as well as we for some of our professionals have created a senior member level. sort of elevate some of the top performers as well. So both of those have just been announced, and we are really excited about both the life membership, the benefits that can bring to both the organization and to individuals, as well as the senior membership.
So with all that, there's a lot of great changes taking place at SMRP, and it's really, for me, if I was in the industry, which I'm here, but I mean, I'm not like some of these companies, and I had a business, I would just have to say, the first step for me would be to just get engaged. It's just like, I know I have to do it. Right. I don't want to push back on it. I don't want to be a roadblock. I know I have to do it. And to do that, you have to educate. And coming to an organization like SMRP would be just a good first step. And then you'll see it. And then you get to talk.
Yes, it is. It would be a good first step for a lot of folks to come and get started.
Yeah, see, I think that's just, I don't know, man. Every year, and this year in particular, it just seems like there's a lot more buzz. I get more and more excited.
Well, we have over 1,100 people at the conference. Really exciting, yes.
And I think people want to get back together, too.
They do. They want to get back together and see each other face to face, a lot of our old friends.
Yeah, it's true. All right, Paul, how do we get a hold of you?
You can reach me at paul.casto@ge.com.
Easy peasy. All right, listeners, we're going to have all the contact information for Paul out there on industrialtalk.com, so fear not. You can get a hold of this gent. All right, once again, we're broadcasting from the 30th Annual SMRP Conference. Again, what Paul was saying, it's a good event. You need to put this on your calendar for next year, and I think it's in October, and I think it's in Orlando.
Yes, October in Atlanta.
There you go.
Sorry, in Orlando.
I'll hit the month as opposed to the dates. So just look for that. We're going to have that out on Industrial Talk too, and put that on your calendar. All right, we're going to be right back with another great conversation from this particular event. So stay tuned. We will be right back.
You're listening to the Industrial Talk Podcast Network.
All right, once again, thank you very much for joining Industrial Talk, and thank you very much for your support. Paul, SMRP Conference, Paul Casto right there, GE Digital, Matt Statcard out on LinkedIn. Reach out to him, find out more. You will not be disappointed with Paul. He knows his stuff, as well as Team GE Digital. Absolutely incredible. They've got a lot happening in reliability, maintenance, asset management, all of the SMRP stuff, as well as this digital transformation. Excellent conversation. They have their hands in pretty much everything, and they're leading the way. All right, put the SMRP conference on your bucket list. I think it's in October. Don't have the details yet, but put it on your bucket list. It's going to be in Orlando, and I'm just telling you, you need to continue. If you're in reliability, you need to continuously educate. You need to collaborate, and definitely innovation is key here too as well. You are that important. You are all doctors out there in asset management. That's what I look at. So go out to smrp.org or go out to Industrial Talk. We'll have all the links there, and get engaged. It's important. 2023 right around the corner. Let's make it a winner. So anyway, thank you once again for joining Industrial Talk. We're going to have another great conversation from SMRP shortly, so stay tuned.